Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I want to introduce you now to Quentin D'Souza, who is a author and a real estate investor who's got a slightly different strategy, I understand, than what most people have. Quentin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so we focus on my partners and I focus on value add apartment buildings in Ontario. So we're very focused in Ontario, which is a rent controlled market, which is very different than some of the other markets that are across North America. And what we've done is we've kind of looked at it from the obstacle is the opportunity. So it's a Ryan Holiday book, and what we see here is that we have good fundamentals of the market. We have population growth, we have job diversity, we have all of those things. But the challenge that we have is that actually increasing the value of a apartment building is a challenge, because we need to increase the net operating income. And to do that, we want to increase the income from that building. And so what we focus on is looking at existing buildings, usually between 10 units and 100 units, and we'll work with the tenants to turn over the units, and we'll increase the net operating income by doing that, and will increase the value of the building. So every usually 3 to 5 years, what we'll do is we'll refinance the building, and then we have our different partners that are part of that building. We'll use the funds through the refinance to recapitalize them on their initial investment, and then we'll go on and we'll purchase another building. So we do a number of different strategies around that with working with tenants. I've written 2 books on property management in Ontario, so we stay in the within the guidelines of the landlord tenant board, and it's just something that helps us to be able to achieve the returns that we want, as well as making it a win-win for the tenants as well.
So what's the secret in increasing the net operating income?
It really is like so one of the things that we do is cash for keys. So it's finding the right number to be for the tenant to be able to turn over the unit. Sometimes it's not even money. Sometimes it could be helping to do something. It could be a particular, like a trip, or it could be something that they want to do, whatever it is that helps them to get a goal, or to get something done. And then for us, we're able to turn over the unit and increase the net operating income of the building.
So explain this to me slowly again, if you could. So what you're saying is that if you kept the same tenants in there, you would be restricted in how much rent you could increase it on an annual basis because of the rent control. Is that correct? And so what you do is you give some sort of an incentive to the tenant such that they're willing to leave, and that allows you to increase the rent. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. What happens in Ontario is that the rent control protects the tenants that are currently in place, but it really restricts the amount of supply that's available. Like all across Ontario, we have probably a I would say 1.5% vacancy rate. And so it's a very, very tight market. And no matter what you do, we have more people coming in. The supply is never going to keep up to the demand that we have. Even the number of units that we are bringing on, it's just not enough compared to the population growth that we have. So one of the ways that we can increase the net operating income is by incentivizing tenants to leave, bringing in new tenants to come in at the market rent, which then increases the value of the building, and then therefore we become profitable by doing that, and we have a product that gives a return, and therefore the people who are investing in the building want to invest in another building because they've done well on that one.
Right. Okay. Sounds like you found an excellent way around the rent control process that is there, and the tenant is willing to take that incentive because obviously what you're saying is that you've given them something that they really want that changes their lifestyle in some way, shape, or form.
That's correct. Yeah. And it's finding out what that is and then working with them to be able to do that.
Sounds like a lot
It,
of person to person negotiation.
it is. There's a lot more, and we're a vertically integrated company. So we have about 1,100 units under our property management company and renovation company in Ontario. So we've got properties from, let's say, Pickering out to Cornwall and then up to the Barrie Midland area. So we've got properties along that corridor, 404 to 400 to the up the 401 corridor. And so that vertical integration helps because we're managing our own properties, our own units. And so the property management company is in line with what we're doing.
But to ask a probably silly question, wouldn't it, if all you're doing is bringing the rents up to market rent, which is all you would be able to do, wouldn't it be just better if landlords were allowed to bring it up to market rent on a regular basis?
We would, but then it would destroy my strategy.
Oh, okay. So then you do just like everyone else. Everyone else would be able to do it, right? So,
Well,
so is rent control then good because you're the only innovative one that can get around the restrictions in rent control?
well, you know what? I think that what happens in other markets where it's not rent controlled is that in order to increase the net operating income, you have to invest in the units by, making them condo quality or adding some sort of amenities to the buildings that would give it the additional value that would increase the net operating income. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm just using what I'm given around me and looking at it from not an obstacle but an opportunity perspective. So I think that's the different way of doing it. I mean, I could wish that it was different, but I am not able to change that. So I'm just working with what I have.
Right.
If I was in a different market, I was doing things, let's say in Alberta, I would do it very differently than I'm doing it here in Ontario to be able to make it work. And, by using this method, we're able to, recapitalize our investors after 3 to 5 years of owning the asset, which is great because then it allows them to continue. They see a return, and then they're able to come back into the next project with us.
So the average term in one of your buildings would be appreciably shorter than the average term in a regular rental building that isn't using this strategy. Any idea what the difference is?
That would be a good comparison. I mean, I don't know what it would be to other people in their buildings, but I would assume that it would be a much longer term.
Yeah.
I would maybe say like double or more. But what ends up happening with this strategy is the same. It's because it's rent control, right? So what ends up happening is even though we've turned over the units and we've increased the net operating income, after 3 to 5 years, the same thing happens because you may have the same tenants that were in the building before. And let's say 3 to 5 years from now, the difference when you put the new tenant in compared to what the market rents are still usually going to be different, and they're still going to be lower than what they are. So you can actually reutilize the strategy again in 3 to 5 years and do the same thing. Because of rent control, it causes this aberration from what market rent is and what the building rent is.
Because the rent control stops you from increasing rents at greater than X percentage on an annual basis, correct?
Yeah, the CPI, whatever now it's less than CPI for what the Ontario government regulates as the market rent.
So what would be your average term or length of stay?
I would say that it's probably 2 to 4 years, something like that. So it's a little bit less than what I would say like some of the existing buildings that we have, you would see tenants in the same building for like 10 years or something like that.
Right.
Whereas you would see probably 2 to 5 years. And you would in our buildings where they would turn over and we would have new tenants come in.
And what are some
But
of the incentives you utilize?
well, I mean, that's some of the things that really work for us. I would say that what I would want to share is that we would do a cash for keys approach where we would offer them a certain amount of money that makes sense for them, makes sense for us, and that would allow them to do something different. Some for some people it could be, move to a different area of the province. For other people it could be to buy a vehicle or something like that. It just depends on what it is.
So
It's not $500, let's put it that way. It's not it can be a significant amount, because when it comes to a building, like if you're moving, for example, you move one tenant out of a building that's moving from $900 to like let's say $1,900 in rent. That $1,000 a month difference is huge on the bottom line of the building, right? Because $1,000 a month, so you multiply that by 12, and we look at the cap rate of a given area, and let's say the cap rate of a given area is 4. So you divide that 4% by $12,000, and you're getting the value increase to the building. So that's like a $250,000 value increase to the net operating income of the building, and therefore the value of the building. That's huge, right? And so given that that's the amount that the value is going to increase, we want to be able to, we know what we can incentivize based on that number. So I mean, that gives us an idea of, okay, if we're going to be able to increase the value of the building by $250,000, we have, we can do like, 10% of that, or whatever the number is, to be able to help us to get to that, to get to the unit to turn over.
Fascinating strategy. Interesting. You've written some books, I understand.
Yeah, 6 actually.
Tell me about what some of the books are.
They're all real estate related. So I've got books on, I've got these ones here.
Tell me about the titles and what the topic is.
Yeah, so the Finding Properties Toolbox, the Filling Vacancies Toolbox, the Property Management Toolbox. These are all related to, so the Property Management and the Filling Vacancies Toolbox is for Ontario investors around working with the Landlord Tenant Board, the Residential Tenancies Act, and in placing tenants and watching out for the pitfalls in property management, not to get into any trouble. The Finding Properties Toolbox is around finding different properties off market. The Scaling Up Toolbox is about working with different partners and being able to scale up your business. The Ultimate Wealth Strategy, I wrote with 2 of my friends, Jeff Woods and Andrew Brennan, about doing the buy, fix, refinance, and rent strategy. I started to use that back in 2008 when with 1 to 4 unit properties. BRRRR, they call it the BRRRR strategy now. I was doing that back then, and they were doing the same thing in different areas of Ontario, and we came together, wrote this book together, which was fun. And then I have this book, The Action Taker Real Estate Investing Planner. It's about doing your long-term goals, short-term goals around real estate investing, and putting that all together in a plan, and then setting goals. Like I have my quarterly goals up on my wall here, and I've got my weekly plan here for next week, and it's all about goal setting. And then up on my board in front of me, I've got like, a bit of a vision board, but also like what my 10-year goals are, like not just from a real estate perspective and finances, but also a health perspective. Like I've over the last few years, I've lost about 120 pounds.
You've lost 120 pounds.
Yeah, I was 327 pounds. I am just shy of 210 now. I ran a marathon.
Unbelievable. What's the secret to that?
Well, there's a lot. It was a big, lots of changes for sure. Like I go for a walk every morning when I get up for 5 kilometers. I'm eating differently. I've associated with, people who are healthy, and I've done a lot of work around that. So
And I understand that you're doing breathing exercises to get ready for a mountain climb.
yeah, that's right. I did. I did a 4 hour workshop this afternoon on breath work, and then did a cold water plunge for 2 minutes. And I'm climbing Kilimanjaro in about 3 weeks. So I've been training for that for the
You're
last.
climbing Kilimanjaro. Fantastic. We'll have to check in with you after that trip and find out how it goes.
Oh, awesome! I'd love to share. I did Machu Picchu with my oldest son in June for a week. We climbed and done. We did that hike, and he he's a university student. He was up at the top with the head of the group. I was behind, and when I got to the top of the 15,000 feet mark, it's called Dead Woman's Pass. I was on my back like a turtle, and he was like, "Dad, look at this! Look at this!" And so this time around going to Kilimanjaro, I wanted to be a little bit more prepared. So I'm doing the breathing techniques, and I'm trying different things to help me
Fantastic.
to be ready.
And I presume diet as well has been part of it.
Absolutely. Totally changed my diet, how I'm eating, when I'm eating. Like I've restricted my eating after 9 p.m. because that was the time when I started to snack. I have different snacks that are available. Usually I have some like a bag of vegetables, or just things. Like I've changed a lot, and it's totally made a big difference. Lots more energy. I don't snore. There's just so many benefits. My doctor's amazed. Like I was on the track for type 2 diabetes, and she's like, you've totally changed everything.
You're an inspiration. Thank you so much for sharing. If we want to get your books, how do we get them?
You can get them on Amazon. You can go to Amazon and you can pick them up. Or if you want to get the Scaling Up Toolbox, it's jointventurebook.com. That's the place to go. If you want to get in touch with me around real estate investing, you can call me at like 905-449-8334. Or you can go to quintindesouza.com. That's another way to get a hold of me too.
Quentin D'Souza, thank you so much for joining us tonight and telling us a little bit about your strategy with rental apartments, but also your strategy to lose weight and get active and climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Sounds fantastic.
It was great talking with you. I love chatting about the things that I'm doing, and learning, just what everybody else is doing too, to help them to achieve their goals and achieve big things too.
Thanks so much. We're going to take a break and come back with a different fascinating individual in just 2 minutes. Stay with us, everybody.